Hi everybody, I've just been repairing a puncture on my fat bike, and before I blew it up I thought I might make a little video about tyres and tubes and fat bike wheels. I really like my fat bike. This is my second one. I had a mongoose before this, and my bike now is just got Big Ed with RockShox Bluetooth forks. I really like the bike. The shore's only maybe 500 metres, not much more than a quarter of a mile from here, and we've got lots of beaches around my county, so I do ride off-road. And actually I found, if I can find it, yes, there's a little bit of seaweed on that spoke there, so to show my fat bike credentials. So I've rubbed soapy water all round the rim on both sides, and I'm going to use my compressor now to blow the tyre up. So when I blew the tyre up, I discovered that the valve stem was very squint, and this is a problem with fat bike tubes because they're so big. It's easy to get the tube misaligned inside the tyre, and you get a very squint valve stem, and I'm always fearful that might tear the rubber, so I've had to open it back up to try and fix that. And the best way to get a fat bike tyre off is to stand on the tyre at the valve side. That takes the tyre into the centre where the diameter is narrower, and then it's a lot easier to get a lever on the opposite side and get the tyre off, or opened up certainly. You can see here how slack that is. It's not tightly beaded at all, so I'll easily be able to get that round off camera and line up that tube a bit better. So that's a hot tip. Put your foot down by the valve side and open it up from the other side. So here we see now putting the tyre back on by standing where the valve is. I can push this on, I reckon, by hand, nice and easy. To use a compressor to blow up these valves, Presta, Schrader, I get them mixed up. You'll need one of these little adapters. When you buy these, always look to try and find the ones with a little O-ring inside. Some of them don't have the O-ring and they don't seal very well, so try and buy one of these. So that's the wheel all ready to go back on the bike now, and some of you may be wondering why I never went tubeless. Well, I tried to go tubeless on this bike and my previous fat bike, and I just found it impossible to get the tyre to seal. It was awful. I've even had problems with my normal bike. This is my white, as you can maybe see there on the front. You can see the tubeless valve stem because it's tubeless. On the back it was tubeless, but it just began to stop sealing, and I eventually had to put a tube in, and you can see that there with a normal valve stem on the back wheel. Not ideal, because it means I have to carry a spare tube or a puncture repair kit now, and it's not so good. Maybe you'll try and go tubeless. There are videos on YouTube that show fat bikes being made tubeless. Well, best of luck, because I couldn't do it. Now, in relation to tubes, I bought these two tubes online, and the package came, and I could not believe how heavy the package was before I even opened it. And sure enough, these tubes weigh something like 750 grams each, which is like £1.5 pounds. They're very heavy, so I refused to put them on because rotating weight, as you probably know, is the best weight to try and save. So I bought these. This is the spare one, the other one's in the bike, these Vittoria tubes, and they're about 550 grams, something like that. So I saved about 200 grams, nigh on £0.5 pound per tyre. So if you're careful with your tube selection and your tyre selection, then you can save a fair bit of rotating weight. Now, when it comes to tyre size, this bike came with 4.75 tyres, which I think are the maximum the bike takes. Well, I have no need to put 4.75s on. I run in the most extreme conditions, in soft sand and mud and goodness knows, and I put 4-inch tyres on. There's far less drag with a 4-inch tyre as opposed to a 4.75. I don't know why you would need bigger tyres. Some people may feel they need them, but I've done a lot of fat biking, and 4 inches is certainly wide enough for me, and I'm sure for most people. And the narrower the tyre is, but still gives you the functionality of a fat bike, the more able you are, I think, to go out in normal company with people on normal bikes, and whilst you're on a fat bike, you've not got a huge disadvantage. I had the pressure up in the back tyre to get it to beat properly, and I put it back down to the pressure I usually run at. There's a huge debate about fat bike tyre pressures. I run about 1 bar, 15 psi in the back, and maybe something like 12 in the front. Some people talk about how low they can get their pressures to be, and I think it's the opposite. I think it's how high your pressure should be, but still get the grip you need. Because the higher the pressure, the less rolling resistance, and the more pleasant it is. And you can ride on soft sand, and I reckon with almost slick tyres. You don't need much tread at all. What you find is on soft forest floors or gravel, the tyre tends to sit on top of the surface, and there's less grip on a fat bike on loose surfaces than you might think. This bike of mine here, because there's a real shoulder to the tyre and strong knobbles, you get real hook up on the trail, on the corners. If you're careful with tyre pressures, again, maybe 25 to 30 in those, and you get good grip. But you get less grip on forest floors with fat bikes than you do on normal bikes, which is a surprise. But I think 15 in the front, 12 in the front, and 15 in the back for me is comfortable. And when you have 15 in the back, when you spin your legs, you don't get that bounce in the tyre that you can with lower pressures. So if I was you, try it with 12 in the front, maybe even a bit more in the front, and 15 in the back. And if you feel that's a bit firm, you can start to drop it down, but I wouldn't go any lower personally. And if you go out on a fat bike in normal bike company, I tend to put 20 front and back, and I get the rolling resistance almost of a normal bike. And although I'm paying a weight penalty because the fat bike is a bit heavier, I find I can go out in normal company. I say normal mountain bike company, and keep up. So we'll give those pressures a try, see how you get on. Thanks for watching.